Okay, so what I am starting here now is temperature dependence of resistance. Temperature dependence of resistance. We discussed one thing that the resistance depends on the temperature of the conductor. The resistance of the conductor or the object depends on its temperature also. That's why when we defined the Ohm's law, we said that when the physical conditions remains constant, and when we talk about the physical conditions, we mean with the temperature and pressure, such type of things. So it means that the resistance of a conductor depends on the temperature, and how it depends on the temperature, we have a simple formula, and we are not required to derive this formula because this formula is based on the practical observations that R is equal to R0 1 plus alpha theta. Now I will tell you what these things are. R0 is the original resistance. Once again I am telling you that this derivation is based on the practical observations. Okay, this formula. So R0 is the original resistance. Let us suppose that before passing the current through the conductor, let us suppose that the temperature was T1. Initial temperature was T1 before passing the current through it, and its initial resistance was R0. Now you passed the current through it, and let us suppose that after passing the current, the temperature reaches to T2, final temperature, and the resistance becomes R. Resistance final. Suppose final resistance becomes R. Before passing the current, temperature was T1 and resistance was R0. After passing the current for some time through the conductor, suppose the temperature becomes T2 and resistance becomes R. Then this is the relation by which, so theta is equal to T2 minus T1. That means rise in temperature. This value theta is rise in temperature. So R equals to R0 1 plus alpha theta, where alpha is a constant. Is a constant of proportionality called as temperature coefficient of resistance. This term alpha is a constant value, not for proportionality, sorry, I mentioned this wrongly. It is a constant value, constant for a conductor. We call this constant as temperature coefficient of resistance, and its value depends on the nature of the material of the conductor. So R is equal to R0 1 plus alpha theta, where theta is T2 minus T1. R0 is original resistance, R is the final resistance. So from here you can obtain alpha, and alpha will be how much? R, you can write R equals to R0 plus R0 alpha theta. So R minus R0 upon R0 theta equals to alpha. So alpha equals to R minus R0 upon R0 theta. So what can be the definition? Temperature coefficient of a conductor is defined as the change in resistance per unit original resistance per unit rise in temperature. Alpha can be defined as the change in resistance per unit original resistance per unit rise in temperature. What will be the SI unit? SI unit is R minus R0, change in resistance, ohm upon R0 is ohm, and theta is, it is the change in temperature, it is Kelvin. Change in temperature will be the temperature only, and it is Kelvin. So ohm and ohm will cancel and you get Kelvin inverse, or you can say degree Celsius inverse. You have these units also. So this is the SI unit of alpha. SI unit of alpha is inverse Kelvin inverse. Okay. Now the value of this alpha can be positive or can be negative also. Now alpha is positive. Simply from this figure you can say that if alpha is positive means numerator must be positive. It means that R is more than R naught. Means the final temperature, final resistance is more than the initial resistance, or simply you can say that in the change in resistance is positive type, means resistance increases with temperature. All those materials whose alpha value is positive, for them the resistance increases with temperature, and which generally happens with most of the conductors like copper, iron, all of them. Whenever you pass current through them, for some time their temperature increases, as a result their resistance also increases. So this is the alpha. Most of the conductors have positive alpha value, but there are few materials which have negative alpha also, means that R will be less than R naught. It means that when they are cold, when their temperature is low, their resistance is high, and when you pass current through them, their temperature increases and their resistance decreases, just opposite to this. So we have nothing to discuss about this conductors whose positive alpha value, they have the positive value as their alpha value. What we need to discuss about is this one. There is one component in television sets which is called as thermistor. There is a component in television sets. They have a thermistor device, and this thermistor device is attached to the picture tube of the television. Now what happens is, this thermistor, when we switch on the current into the TV cabinet, when we switch on the current, what will happen? Suddenly if a large amount of current will flood through the picture tube, it will destroy the picture tube because it has very delicate parts. So what happens? This thermistor protects the television tube. How it protects? Initially when you switch on the current, the temperature of that thermistor is low, it is cold, the temperature is low, and hence it allows less current to pass through it. So the picture tube is protected by the flooding current. Now what happens? That slowly and gradually the temperature of the thermistor increases, and slowly and gradually it increases the flow of current through the picture tube. Means the picture tube doesn't get flooded with the current instantly. What happens is, slowly and gradually the current increases and passes through the picture tube, and so our picture tube is saved with the flooding current. So this is the use of thermistor. So this is an example of a device whose having alpha value as a negative value. Okay. Our next topic is failure of Ohm's law. Failure of Ohm's law. Now what Ohm's law says that if physical conditions do not change, then V is directly proportional to I, means that VI graph should be a straight line. It means that all those cases in which VI graph does not remain a straight line are all the cases of failure of Ohm's law. Now we will start with the first example, that we know that VI curve should be a straight line. But what happens when we flow current through the conductor? Initially the temperature of the conductor is low, and hence V is directly proportional to I. It remains directly proportional. But what happens that slowly that temperature of the conductor increases. As a result, the R value also increases, and therefore the graph after a certain point does not remain a straight line. It becomes like a curve like this. So up to some extent it remains a straight line and then starts becoming a curve. So actually this was the original line that has to be followed by the VI graph, but it is not following that line, rather it follows this one. So So the first example of failure of Ohm's law is a conductor at increased temperature. When current flows through the conductor for some time, the temperature increases and the VI graph does not remain a straight line. It becomes a curve. This is the first case of failure. Now second case. Second case is about the PN junction diode. You will come to know about this PN junction diode in last chapter, the chapter number 14, solids and semiconductor devices. But what we need to discuss only is the characteristic curve of a PN junction diode. A PN junction diode is particularly a device. I will not describe it in detail here. When we draw the graph for VI, when we draw the VI graph of a PN junction diode, for forward biasing we get a curve like this. You can see which is not a straight line. And in reverse biasing it comes this way, which is again not a straight line. So in both forward and reverse biasing, in both the cases, VI graph is not a straight line for a PN junction diode. Once again I am telling you that what is a PN junction diode, that you will come to know in last chapter of your syllabus. Just now we are only discussing about the VI graphs of different different objects or different means VI graph of different your devices which are not a straight line, and they all are the cases of failure of Ohm's law. Okay, third is a thyristor. Third example is a thyristor. A thyristor is again a combination of PN junction diode. A PN junction diode actually have two junctions and have a junction. One end is P, other end is N. P refers to the positive end, N refers to the negative end. So this is a PN junction diode. Now a combination of PN junction diode means four alternate layers of P and PN is called as a thyristor. Now that for that thyristor, when we draw the characteristic curve, we get a graph like this one. It is nearly of this shape. Again, not a straight line. So this is also a case of failure of Ohm's law. So what are the different cases? First case is a conductor. When current passes through the conductor for some time, its temperature increases and the graph, instead of behaving like a straight line, it starts behaving like a curve. So at high temperature, a conductor is a failure of Ohm's law. Then second is PN junction diode. This type of graph we get which are not straight lines. So they are the failure of Ohm's law. Then a thyristor, a combination of two PN junction diodes. When we draw the graph VI curve, we get a such type of curve which is not again a straight line. So these are the cases of failures of Ohm's law. Last topic for today is, because I think you have your maths class at 6 p.m. So last topic I am taking for today, and tomorrow we will start further, is superconductivity. Superconductivity. Superconductivity means, conductivity means allowance to the flow of charges, and superconductivity means super allowance to the flow of charges means resistance offered to the charges, to the flow of current is approximately zero. No resistance is offered by the conductor to the flow of current. Current can easily pass through the conductor. Now, it was first of all was observed by Kamerlingh Onnes in 1911. His name was Kamerlingh Onnes, and he first of all observed that in 1911 he observed that particularly for mercury Hg, that when the temperature of mercury is decreased, its resistance value also decreases. Actually it was based on the simple observation that with temperature resistance increases. So what he thought, that if temperature is decreased then resistance must also decrease. So he decreased the temperature of mercury and observed that the resistance also decreases. Then suddenly he found that when the temperature becomes 4.2 Kelvin, the resistance of Hg, mercury, resistance suddenly becomes zero. means it starts behaving like a superconductor at 4.2 Kelvin. Later on it was found that the superconductivity can be achieved with different materials also. At present, nowadays, we have achieved the superconductivity till 112 Kelvin approximately, and scientists are trying to achieve this state of superconductivity at room temperature so that it can become useful for us. We want to bring superconductivity at room temperature. Okay. Now, one thing I forgot here. This temperature is called as critical temperature. The temperature for any conductor below which there is a particular value of temperature below which, when you take the temperature of the conductor, it starts behaving like as a superconductor. That temperature is called as the critical temperature. Means you go for any conductor, you go on decreasing the temperature at a particular point of temperature, means which is called as Tc or critical temperature. If you further decrease the temperature below Tc, the conductor will start behaving like a superconductor. That is your critical temperature. One more topic that comes with this superconductivity is Meissner effect. Meissner effect. And this Meissner effect was first of all described by Meissner and Oschenfield. It was first of all described by Meissner and Oschenfield in 1933. It was first observed by Meissner effect was observed by Meissner and Oschenfield in 1933. What they observed is, when you place a conductor, a paramagnetic material inside a magnetic field, in next chapter you will come to know about that what are different types of magnetic materials. They are paramagnetic, diamagnetic and ferromagnetic. Paramagnetic materials are those which get magnetized when you place them inside a magnetic field along the direction of the magnetic field. There are other materials, means there is one more classification which is called as diamagnetic materials, which get magnetized opposite to the direction of magnetic field. Opposite to the direction means that they will oppose the external magnetic field. So what they observed, Meissner and Oschenfield, which is called as the Meissner effect, is when you place a paramagnetic material inside a magnetic field, it gets magnetized. But if you decrease the temperature of this magnetic material below critical temperature, it starts behaving like a superconductor, and in that condition it pushes away the magnetic field of the external magnetic field, means it becomes like this. The magnetic lines of forces do not pass through this material. The superconductive nature of the material pushes away the magnetic field. How it pushes away? It generates its own magnetic field in the opposite direction. Means the paramagnetic material gets converted into diamagnetic material. This property is utilized in magnetic levitation, and on which we have the magnetic levitation trains and these things. So if this condition can be achieved at room temperature, the superconductivity, then it will be a means to achieve the levitation will be an easy task for us, and we can utilize that in making the high speed trains and for many other purposes. Okay, so now what we have, the last topic is the applications of superconductivity. Applications of superconductivity. So first is for producing high magnetic field. High magnetic field means with the help of superconductivity we can produce strong magnetic fields in a particular region. Then for storage of Second is, with the help of magnetic field, we prepare the magnetic chips, which are our SD cards and pen drives. So we can use, the second utilization is to store the memory, for storing the memory. Okay. The third one is in the construction of very sensitive galvanometer, for preparing galvanometers. Galvanometers sensitive, for preparing the sensitive galvanometers. Okay. Then again, for passing the current through long distances will be easier. The task of passing the current through long distances will be easier if superconductivity is there, because there the line loss will be low. The loss of current due to the resistance of the transmission wire will be low and line loss will be low. Again, one application I already told you, that in achieving the levitation transportation, that also can be a application of this superconductivity. That's all for today. So any question?